and I have just taken a bath with my pelvis and legs and swapped into my backup or second pair of thermal pants. What a day! And I want to talk a little bit about something that I suspect a lot of you who come around and give me advice, unasked for advice, frankly, and unneeded advice, regressive and unhelpful advice. But anyway, for all of you who come around to me and give me advice, I think there's something that I notice when you and all of you start to fantasize about what it would be like to live out here in this condition, or at least to do it your way. One thing that you never talk about is how you're going to keep your place insulated and how you're going to keep your place warm naturally without having to build a fire, without, hey, Richie, without having to build a fire, without having to spend any effort whatsoever. I don't have to spend resources to keep my tent warm. And I want to explain to you why. It's actually uncomfortably warm in here. It's still 15 degrees in Ohio, according to Google. Check that. It's raised to 32, but 32 is still cold. It's still cold enough that I shouldn't be uncomfortably warm in what you consider sitting outside. I can hear the ice melting off of my tent, but I wanna show you why. I woke up this morning bright and early. For me, I didn't get enough sleep again because I was warm, hot. I was hot even, and I want to show you why. When I chose my spot, I chose it for something very, very specific. Let's see if we can. I might have too much tent in the way, but I want to show you something. That is the noonday sun. I'm going to give you some time to think about it. Because it might not be obvious besides being, it's truly beautiful. I'm going to give you some time to think about it because there are only the two of you here. And I do hope people will watch these. I chose this location because of the position of the sun at noon. And allow me to pull this back. And I'll give you some time to think about it. What have I done? Yep, hottest sun of the day. And look, this is where my head is. That's where the sun is. I'll give you some time to think about it as I close my door to this light permeable fabric. What I've done is I've set up my tent in a location where the sun is beaming directly down onto it. It behaves similar to a magnifying glass in that this light semi-permeable fabric allows the light to come in and not come back out. This has a greenhouse effect. Yes, I'm giving myself a greenhouse effect from direct sunlight. So my tent, the interior of my tent, so long as light can touch it, remains warm. Warm. That's why I had to stay out of it during the summer, because it was 15 to 20 degrees hotter on the inside of the tent than it was outside. I had to be very careful. Yeah, I woke up uncomfortably warm because the inside of my tent was uncomfortably warm. But I want to be very clear. This was a block of ice last night, and it's not a block of ice now. So uncomfortably warm means above freezing. And like I talked this summer, people didn't believe me. They just didn't believe me. Once the temperature is below freezing, you can't really tell the difference. The difference in 5 degrees and 30 degrees is how quickly you die. It doesn't feel different. This is why back in the day, philosophers used to use the rhetorical position. They used to take the rhetorical position of asking you where hot becomes cold. Where's the moment where hot is no longer hot? And inversely, where's the moment where cold is no longer cold? Where is that moment? What is that moment? In the West, they used to ask, similar to how Native Americans did, and um, this is why the genetic evidence, the genetic evidence uh, is enough for scientists to come up with theories they haven't yet been able to find evidence for, that the Native Americans were Asian and not Jewish, or Indo-European, is that similarly their mythology, this thought experiment among Native Americans is also the sun and the moon, or I'm sorry, light and dark. When does light become dark? And conversely, when does dark become light? Where is that moment? Because that thought experiment that thought experiment is designed to get you to think about sliding scales, or degrees of differentiation, because we all agree that twilight, right, twilight is the moment between sun up and sundown, or I'm sorry, yeah, sun being up and sun being down, not those states of time of day. I forget those are states of time of day, names for a time of day. Sun up, sundown. Hello Frost. Hello Cindy. And so I think that a lot of you, I think a lot of you second guess my ingenuity because you lack the basic survival skills. You lack the basic survival skills to keep your own home warm or cool without electricity. And so now, a lot of people are going to go, oh well, you can read about that in books, you can find about that in survival magazines, but I didn't learn how to manage this tense environment from books, survival magazines. And when I say magazine, I don't mean paper publications that are kind of throwaway. I mean magazine in the definitional sense, the etymological sense, the usage sense of a magazine for a firearm. A magazine is a collection of stuff. And so most YouTube channels are magazines. In fact, if someone figured that out and began to treat their YouTube channel like a magazine, they would sell gangbusters. I don't do it because it's so obvious. It's just lying there waiting to be done. And so it's not something that I live through life. It's something that I learned through specifically living my life in poverty. I lived I lived growing up in inadequate shelters with inadequate insulation and inadequate um, inadequate electricity. So something that I don't think a lot of you think about is your electricity, not electricity budget, not the amount of money that you spend on electricity, but your electricity diet. How much electricity you consume, like your caloric intake, your diet, your food diet. I don't think a lot of us are aware of how many calories we are or are not eating. I was realizing that I was eating until I was full on these power bowls, Rach. Told you I really like this power bowl. And then I also told you that one time I noshed one down and I was like, well, I just felt like I ate, but I don't feel full. And the reason is because the fucking thing's only like 500 calories. I would need to eat two of them to hit I would need to hit two of them to hit 1,000, right? And I would really need to hit three of them to maintain a growing muscle mass, caloric intake. There's very little wonder that I'm always in so much pain. Getting the 15 or 2,000 calories I would need to maintain my body mass is $50 to $60 a day. That's expensive. Anyway, something else I don't think you think about when you you effort to empathize with my position is I don't think you're aware of your I don't think you're aware of the calories that you consume in any sense, because electricity can also be measured in calories. It's just an amount of energy. And so electricity is just a lot more energetic than calories. But I'm sure you could count it. And so that was something it was something I used to have to think about obsessively at the beginning. And give me a second. I'm going to give you a break on your word choice there for us, because I believe I am of the understanding that you're a non-native English speaker, but you being proud of me for something that I lived through is strange. Um, and I don't think of myself in terms of stronger than you mentally. And if I am stronger than you mentally, then I'm a mental bodybuilder, and I deserve to be paid to be observed in the same way that these women who sit around and do squats and lunges and whatever the sideways lunges so that their butts look nice, and then they put on nice pants and expect to be paid for presenting themselves on the internet. I've done the squats and lunges and whatever else necessary to be mentally stronger than you. I deserve the same. So what taking pride in me is a weird thing to do if you didn't participate in getting me there. Like, coaches take pride in their players because they were there for it. They watched, they saw the growth, they were materially involved through advice, through structured learning, through practice sessions. Practice isn't always and necessarily a structured learning environment. The NFL players, for example, do have classroom environments, and they do call it classroom. So something else I don't think you think about very often. My father was in the military. Something I don't think you think about very often is how many industries in the world that you live in were effectively made by the military or military individuals, veterans. So every kitchen in the world is designed like a military mess hall, every single one of them. And so if you can't understand chains of command, you're never going to make it in any kitchen. You're never going to make it in any restaurant. And let me explain to you why I'm thinking about this. Let me explain to you why I'm thinking about this, because this is just another thing I don't think you think about, and it's something I think about all the time, and it led to how I observed my environment for the specific things that I was going to need, because I knew that I wasn't going to be eating here, because that's going to invite raccoons, and if I'm inviting raccoons, they're going to destroy my tent, they're going to take my stuff, they're going to attack me at some point, because a raccoon will fight you over your shit. So food can't be out here. Now I have been bringing food out here, but early on, I know I'm not bringing food out here, and I definitely know I'm not cooking out here, because fire is illegal, and the cops know I'm here. I have permission to be here, but if I do things that are illegal while I'm here, I'm not going to be permitted to be here any longer. So what I needed was, I was coming out here in September. The most pressing need in September was to survive, and I knew that my best move was to sit in a spot that was shielded from the wind, so a ravine with tree cover and a wall. Now the wind that does come bounces off that wall, and it does come up under the tent with extreme prejudice. So we have this blanket over here that helps with that. Last year I slept in the foot of the tent because no wind can get up underneath the foot, but it's designed that way so your feet don't freeze. So my feet were fucking cold last winter, but I dealt with that with hot hands, which meant I need to have a budget of $2.50 a day just for hot hands. And so these aren't things I think you think about. And so anyway, I'm listening to the conversation in the kitchen, and everybody is mad. Everybody at that Taco Bell is mad because of the way their general manager resolves conflict. The way the general manager resolves conflict is poor. But what's happening is that everyone on the crew up is dissatisfied, and so they're arguing with one another, and so they're all they're all bitching at one another, or they're not saying anything while somebody else bitches about somebody who's not there. And the people who aren't saying anything are immediately going up the chain of command, past them, past their manager who's allowed it to happen or participating, directly to the general manager and telling the general manager, hey, so this shift that you're not currently working is a toxic environment that I don't want to be a part of, and something needs to change. And so the person that is now creating a toxic environment for this person that they don't want to be around is called into the office, and they're told, hey, you need to stop this, and here's a write-up for it. Don't do this behavior. And then what they do is, now we're weeks into the downstream of not just nipping it in the bud by explaining what the fucking problem is and telling them the behavior they need to do to fix it, which is gaslighting. If you have a problem with somebody, or if there's an issue with someone, or someone is doing something wrong and you're in a leadership position and you don't tell them what the problem is and how to fix it, you just write them up or whatever, that's gaslighting. You've made the problem worse because they don't know how to fix the problem. If they know how to fix the problem and they're refusing to fix the problem, you have the write-up for grounds for termination. People don't understand that write-ups are not there to correct your behavior. Write-ups are a convention from corporations that have unions, because you can't just terminate anyone in a union for any reason. The union has to terminate that person. And a write-up is a chain, a paper trail demonstrating that you have not corrected specific behaviors. These write-ups in Taco Bell, etc., they're just paper trails to hope that the act of the write-up will correct your behavior, because they're not putting on the write-up what you've done wrong and what the corrective behavior is and how long you have to correct it before you're removed. These corporations are allowed to terminate you for any reason. So they will. It's really about the general manager and how many applications she has on her desk right now, and how willing she or he is. But I use she specifically because it's usually women, and stores that are out of control like this are almost always generally managed by women. Almost always. It's almost 100%. The way it's supposed to go is a verbal warning, and then 2 write-ups, and you're gone. That's just not how she's doing it. She's not doing the verbal warning because she's not sitting people down and explaining to them what they've done wrong and what they need to do to correct it. What she's doing is, she's hearing the complaint, and then she's telling the shift manager to just write them up. And so the shift manager doesn't know what's wrong or how to do it. And like dude was complaining last night, the shift manager was participating in the things that he was writing dude up for. And so what happens is, then he starts pulling the masculinity thing. If you have a problem with me, say it to my face. Well, the reason that there's a chain of command is because in the military, that's how everybody behaves. And criminals and people at the lowest levels of human society behave like deserters. So people with a military background, but not military discipline. So people who couldn't actually hack it in military culture. And so what they want to do is they want to do this hyper masculine, I can beat you up. And so that's what he does. He goes, oh, I'm going to kick her ass. Well, she has a problem with me. She needs to say something to me. And then somebody goes, yeah, but you just said you're going to kick her ass. He goes, I'm not actually going to hurt her. And it's like, does she know that? This is why there's a chain of command. She hears you say that you're going to put your hands on her. She hears you use the word retarded about her and your manager. She hears you use racial and sexual epithets to describe your coworkers. And she goes to your boss and says so. And she says, hey, he's doing things that for decades, 2 or 3 decades now, we have agreed are completely unacceptable in any workplace, especially one with customers where the customer can hear it. And then the general manager turns around to his manager and says, write him up. And he goes, for what? And she's like, I don't care. It's extremely toxic. I don't like being in there because I have to hear it all night. And you know that what's coming next is he's going to come to me and he's going to ask for my approval. I'm going to say, no, nothing you're saying and nothing that you think, nothing of the way you've articulated your emotions is acceptable. You need to be terminated immediately. You make me extremely uncomfortable to come here. It's not hard to do the job well and shut the fuck up. And if you have a problem with your manager, you have a problem with your general manager, to go to them. Because what he says is, oh, if I got a problem with them, I go and I talk to them. And then he talks about all these made up conversations he's never had. Because if he said the things that he's saying that he said, he would have been just terminated on the spot. Because nobody is going to allow their dignity to be infringed in that way. And yeah, and that's the thing that's killing me, is he's talking about how one of the guys there was promoted, and now he's failing because he didn't have the temperament for leadership. But what he doesn't understand is he's saying all of that stuff while he's wearing a shift lead hat. He's MOD and he's representing the store in that way. So he's doing this exact same pattern behaviors. He's even talking about it like, oh, I would just not even show up for my shifts if I didn't need this job to feed my kids because my wife is useless. Temperamentally, you, sir, need to shut the fuck up at all times. At all times. Your mouth is why you are in this spot. Shut the fuck up. If you don't like what's going on around you, leave. If you can't leave, shut the fuck up. At all times. Shutting the fuck up would be the correct answer for him. At all times. Everything he says is the wrong thing to say. Because they come in a good mood and they're having a good time, and then it's just him and one or two other people, and then it's just him bitching the whole night. It's just him bitching the whole night, and them feeling like they have to be and them feeling like they have to therapute him in order to get the environment. Oh, it's terrible for the customers. You see people will sit down and be like, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to sit down inside a store. I haven't done that frequently and regularly since COVID. And then you see people like him taking advantage of the fact that it's a Taco Bell, and they just look at one another like, and the dining room goes dead silent. The only people who ever talk in the dining room are employees of that store. And they're the only people who don't notice. What that means is that they take for granted that this is their home. And this is how they behave in their homes. This means that their homes are also unmaintained garbage. And so this is what I'm talking about. Growing up poor, I grew up around these people. My father was one of these people. My mother was one of these people. My father would always come home and say, oh, the only reason I don't leave that place is because you're fucking useless, to my mom. And then he would pack me up and take me, and we would go do something that generated an income together. So you want to know why I'm the way I am? You people want to throw your, oh, this must be online therapy session. Go fuck yourself. I'm making an income right now. Why? Because this is how my father taught me to deal with the world and to deal with stress. Shut the fuck up and just do the work that needs doing. Because talking about it with anybody isn't going to help. And then he goes, oh, I'm just expressing my feelings. No, you're not expressing your feelings. You're working yourself into a rage so you can do the exact same bad job that Trent is doing. You're doing the exact same thing the general manager's boyfriend did. You're coming in sober, you're in a good mood, you're having a good time, you're getting stoned in the back, you're coming out and you're putting yourself in a bad mood, because the way that we behave is about set and setting, and especially the way that we react to psychoactive chemicals, compounds. Work is not the time or place for feelings. Right, Rage. Feelings aren't real. And anyway, I was watching a YouTube video the other day. It might have been TikTok, but I was watching a short video from a pseudo-psychologist who was talking about how talking about your feelings is never the wrong thing to do and can never make your problems worse. And talking about your feelings 100% always is the wrong thing to do, and 100% always makes everything worse. Because you are the only person who knows your feelings, and the words you're using are wrong. So is silence. Silence is also nice. I don't know why you would think that. So anyway, I know the things I know because I have survived the extremist human environments in the United States. I survived extreme sexual abuse in early childhood. I survived my parents and their malignant loathing of me. Every time you think you're right, you're wrong. And every time you are right, you're wrong for subtle reasons. The first best advice I could give anybody is to accept the right to be wrong. I don't know what the ropey is. That's why I make a habit of being right. Because I understand and I accept the irony that everything I say is subtly wrong. And I know what I mean, and you don't. The people who know what I mean also know what I mean. They're in the club. Most of them are paying me. The people who don't know what I mean or who want to take an arbitrary splitting of the hair because there's always a way that everyone is wrong, who just want to focus on how you're wrong, those people don't stick around and they're not paying me. So I'm just not. A lot of people think that I'm here trying to change minds or I'm trying to convert people to my way of thinking. No, I have an idiosyncratic method. I have developed a method. I call it Shaggy Philalitheia. It's a method. I'm not here to convert you. I'm here to demonstrate that it's superior to yours. It's not just women like you, Rachie. It's you were taught that by your mothers. Because mother has to always be right. Because if mother is ever wrong within the household, the children will take advantage of it, and there's no rule in the household. You have to speak to someone trained to take emotional complaints, Matthew. That's all HR is. Everybody in HR is somebody who failed to be a counselor. Well, I'm glad you feel that way. It's the last time you ever get to speak to me, Grasshopper. You don't think about the situation holistically. So, right now, I'm sitting in a sunbeam getting cold. But compared to, yeah, HR, human resources, every single one of them is a failed counselor. Well, you are either at any time either a patient, a client, or a customer of anyone, unless you're someone's patron, Matthew. Those are shifting those are shifting mantles, but you have a role in every social situation you find yourself in. And anytime you're engaging with any other human being or animal, you are in a social situation and you have a role. Human civilization is long enough that those roles have been codified, those roles have been explored in fiction, those roles have been explored in academe, those roles have been um, impressed and enforced with religion. Yeah, that sun is going to be there and comfortable for hours. Woo! Almost I plugged in my phone, but almost forgot to turn on my battery bank. My phone almost straight died. I'm explaining human dynamics. I'm explaining how because we don't think about things holistically, we let our emotions get in the way. Emotions like despair, I'm homeless now, get in the way of our ability to be prepared for the future, of our ability to wake up in a sunbeam in the middle of December, warm, over warm, thinking I need to get naked. It's so fucking hot in here. Then thinking to myself, ooh, I have time to be naked so I can actually bathe for the first time in 6 or 8 weeks. Shut up and buy my buy my new record. Buy my buy send more money. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you, buddy. You don't know me, but I used to walk through the halls of my high school singing Hooker with a Penis. Well, I've got some advice for you, little buddy Johnny. If I'm the man, then he's the man and you're the man as well. So you can point that fucking finger up your ass. Thank you. Before you point your finger, you should know that I'm the man. And if I'm the fucking man, then he's the fucking man as well. I don't actually know the lyrics. I have to hear the song to know the lyrics because they just come out of my body. I rely on my body to know. It's in my brain somewhere. So I rely on my brain and vocal cords to just get it right. I can't summon them. That's why I'm not in music, because I can't just. I watch drummers. Yes, Rachie. I watch, for example, drummers. Like, I was watching, what's his name? The drummer for Leprous. Bard is his name. I was watching him, uh, and they were like, so we know you don't ever play this song live, and it's from like a record from like 15 years ago, but can you play this song? And he just goes right into it, and it's a 15-minute prog epic. And I'm just like, how? I couldn't even do that when I was in band. They'd be like, all right, play the fight song. And I'm like, cue up drums or something, because I don't know how it happens. It's just going to come out of my body when I'm ready to go. And this is why what I'm experiencing is what ancient poets would do. This is how, like, a lot of ancient storytelling. I was talking to somebody, I think it was Rachie last night, about how storytelling was actually done, and that's not dissimilar. The Pot is a different song, but yes, Striker. It's not in my ear right now, though. I think Slayer are, and it's bad. Well, Matthew. Speaking of holistic problem solving, what is my situation from your perspective? Because I'm sure that you think my perspective or my situation is something that I don't think my situation is, and I'm sure that you think of getting out as being rescued. I wish you weren't talking to me right now, Solitude. That doesn't make sense, Marty. Holistic medicine, maybe, but holistic problem solving can't be a placebo effect. Your consciousness is not a non agent. I've had enough of however many of you there are, Solitude. Evidently, there are 99 of you, so there could be 100. No. This is what I get for not just getting up and starting my fucking day. I knew better. Sanitarium. I don't need a space heater or a fire, because if I were hanging out here, I would be overwarm. I don't need a space heater or a fighter at night, or a fire at night, because if I'm awake, I'm generating body heat by being awake. Idiots. Just because you don't know how to survive in non-standard environments doesn't mean that my rechargeable hand warmer didn't survive the night. Just shut up and press on. All this bitching about people who aren't present isn't going to make these orders go out any faster. Yeah. This is thought out pretty good. But that's right in the direct sunlight. That's my point. That's why it is where it is. That's why it's set up the way it's set up. That's why I did all of this. And so, like, I'm listening the other day to creationism arguments, and they keep talking about design, and something that I am absolutely sure that Rachel is utterly sick of hearing me say is evidence of human design. I'm constantly looking for evidence of human design, because humans design things differently from the way God designs things, if God designs things at all. The designer God hypothesis is still a nil evidence hypothesis. But if you want to use God as a metaphor for natural processes, as I frequently do, then humans design things differently from natural processes. Humans design things differently from animals. And one of the things that's true about humans is that we're always looking for design. We're always looking for evidence of intelligence. This is why we think that grasses that fall over in rain and then trap themselves in a little nest, a natural phenomenon based on geography and topography, I think is what it's called. Topology, maybe. Um, a natural thing that happens. This is why people in Ohio think that those are Bigfoot, because they heard about Bigfoot and they had an unexplained natural phenomenon. So they just gave it an explanation and moved on. Because eventually you have to move on. You just have to move on. I just don't understand why you're saying this to me, Matthew. I don't understand how this gets me to where I'm going. I say this all the time. The only thing I need is money. At $5 a month for my memberships, if I had 200 members, I would cash out $1,000 a month. That would pay for an apartment. I don't understand how you think I'm getting out of this without money. And so if you're telling me that I'm good enough to be paid at this, why are you not first in line to make sure that other people see that you support what you're saying with your fucking dollars? I don't understand why you're saying these things to me specifically. I understand why you're thinking them. Whatever. I don't know why you're sharing them with me like I'm not going to react in exactly the way I'm reacting right now. Because you're not telling me what you think my situation is. I hypothesized and predicted what you think my situation is and what you think getting out of this means, because that's how science works. You hypothesize and then you go about the process of falsifying the hypothesis. You and your testimony are the only way that I can falsify any hypothesis that I have about you and the cause of your behavior. And so, as I've said, you're only either a client, a customer, or whatever, a patient, unless you're a patron. What are you right now? What are you to me? What is your role re me right now? And likewise, what is my role re you and hearing you say these specific things to me? If I were still working in the gas station and you walked up to me and you said, "Wow, you're whatever thing you just said and whatever you think that means, you seem whatever thing you think to get out of this situation," how would I be meant to react? Okay, well, your observation led you to be very fucking wrong, Matthew. Like, you couldn't be more wrong. I am not a content creator. I am not a hobbyist. Infrequently, hello. And I don't understand hierarchical, like, I don't understand a hierarchy of desire, but I really don't understand a hierarchy of desire that includes a choice making apparatus that also includes choice, or like, that includes like. I was just talking about how there's a chain of command in a corporate environment because what you like and what you don't like are always wrong. And the way you would like to pursue conflict resolution is always wrong. And that you have to have professionals who are trained in conflict resolution in order to have meaningful conflict resolution. I don't understand how you think that my choices are therefore made in opposition to my own observations. I don't know why you guys assume that I live in a different way than I speak. Like the default setting that I'm a hypocrite is really fucked up. It explains why you don't send money, but you tell me that I'm smart enough to make money at this. And why you like just repeatedly insult my intelligence to my face. I know you don't think I'm wrong. That's my point. You don't think I'm wrong. You think I'm a hypocrite. I didn't say you think I'm wrong. I said your default position that I'm a hypocrite. That I live in some other way than I speak. Explains our dynamic. Because again, if I were still working in the gas station or I was still waiting tables, people used to do this to me all the time. They'd be like, "Oh, you could still go back to college." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, but what if working at this gas station is part of my career path? What if it's part of my artistic genius? What if I'm getting an education that's actually going to make the loan acquisition process for owning my own business someday clearer, straighter, and less reliant on probability, luck, and personal relationships?" Not all of us, Jeff. What if I know things about me that you don't, and my testimony is the only valid testimony? What if?